Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at Hotwire Native, specifically version 1.2, which just dropped.
That's right. We're using the official announcement from the 37 Signals dev blog
Yeah.
that came out April 23rd, 2025.
And our mission really is to unpack what this update means,
Uh-huh.
for developers, but also anyone just curious about how modern mobile apps get built.
Exactly. It's not just a small patch. It feels pretty significant in terms of making native app development with web tech smoother, more powerful.
So potentially some useful stuff for you, the listener, especially if you're looking for more efficient ways to build things.
Definitely. Could streamline quite a bit.
Okay, so where should we start? The announcement mentions root decision handlers. Sounds important. What was the issue before?
Yeah, so routing, getting around the app before, if you wanted really fine-grained control over how URLs behaved, like does this link open in the app? Does it go to an external browser? You had some limitations. It wasn't always straightforward.
Right, you might have had to do some workarounds.
Exactly. So, version 1.2 brings in this route decision handler idea for both iOS and Android. It's a more, let's say, structured way to manage this.
Okay, like traffic control for links. What are the standard ones they give us out of the box?
Well, there are four main ones built in. First is the app navigation route decision handler. That's sort of the default for URLs inside your app's domain, keeps everything internal.
Makes sense.
Then for iOS, there's the Safari View Controller Route Decision Handler. That handles external HTTP or HTTPS links by opening them in that, mini Safari window inside your app.
Ah, okay, the in-app browser experience.
Precisely. And Android gets something similar with the Browser Tab Route Decision Handler, uses Chrome custom tabs, basically the same idea, keeps the user kind of anchored in your app context.
Gotcha. And the last one?
That's the System Navigation Route Decision Handler. This one deals with other external links, like SMs to open messages or MailTow for email. It just kicks it over to the phone's default app for that.
Okay, standard stuff. But the really interesting part, I thought, was that you can build custom handlers. Why go to that trouble? What's the payoff?
Ah, yeah, that's where it gets flexible, right? Imagine you've got a specific partner integration, maybe, or a certain type of link that needs to open a special native screen, not a web view.
Like for authentication or something unique?
Exactly. Or maybe deep linking shared product URLs directly to the product screen in your native UI. Instead of hacking something together before, now there's a proper API for it. You register your custom handler and it intercepts those specific URLs.
That sounds much cleaner.
It is. And they mentioned documentation is ready for anyone who wants to dive in and build their own, so the pathway is there.
Okay, cool. Moving on then. The announcement talks about, let me find it, server-driven historical location URLs. Specifically mentions Ruby on Rails users. What's that all about?
Right. This is pretty neat. It's about letting your web backend, in this case, Rails, have more control over the app's navigation stack, like telling the app to go back or refresh the current screen.
So the server sends a command, basically.
Yeah, using special URLs provided by the Turbo Rails gem. Think of it as your server, which knows the user's context and journey, being able to directly influence the mobile app's flow.
Interesting. What are these commands? Can you give examples?
Sure. The announcement lists three. There's Residio Rerecto. That one basically tells the app to pop the current screen, like hitting back.
Okay.
Then Refresh Redirecto. Well, that one's obvious. It reloads the current view.
Yep.
And Resume Redirecto, which kind of brings the current screen back into focus if it was, say, pushed aside, but without reloading data.
So how does 1.2 improve this? Was it complicated before?
You might have needed some extra configuration on the app side to properly interpret these special URLs coming from Rails. Now, Hotwire Native 1.2 has built-in support. It just understands them.
Less boilerplate.
Less boilerplate, exactly. And they specifically mention an improvement where if you use one of these commands, it can now automatically dismiss any modal screen that might be open on top. Just smooths out the user experience.
Nice little quality of life improvement there.
Definitely. And again, docs have the full details if you need them.
All right, now for something I know people have been asking about for a while. Bottom tabs. Native bottom tab bars.
Ah, yes, the perennial question. And version 1.2 delivers an official solution.
Finally, what do they add?
So they've introduced proper native components. For iOS, it's the Hotwire Tab Bar controller, and for Android, it's the Hotwire Bottom Navigation controller.
Okay, so no more trying to hack it together with web views or third-party libraries necessarily.
Exactly. This gives you a standard, performant, platform-native way to implement that super common navigation pattern. Should save a lot of headaches.
That's huge, actually. People will be happy about that. And to see how it all works.
Yeah.
New demo apps.
Yes. Big news there, too. They didn't just update the old ones. They built completely new demo apps for both iOS and Android.
Oh, wow. From scratch.
Seems like it. And crucially, these new native apps connect to a brand new backend Rails application as well, so you get the full picture end to end.
That's super helpful for learning. Where can people find these?
Yep, they link them right in the announcement. Let's see. The repos are on GitHub. There's one for the iOS demo, one for the Android demo, and one for the Rails backend they talk to. We can put those links in the description.
Perfect.
And they give a shout out to Joe Massalotti for his work on the demos, which is great to see. They also mention his book, Hotwire Native for Rails Developers, as another resource.
Good plug. Okay, anything else major? They mentioned release notes, too.
Right. As you'd expect with a point release like 1.2, it's not just those big headline features. There are apparently quite a few other, smaller improvements and bug fixes across both platforms.
The usual under-the-hood stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you really want the nitty-gritty, the announcement points you to the full iOS and Android release notes. Always worth scanning those if you're actively developing.
Definitely. So wrapping it up, the big takeaways for Hotwire Native 1.2 seem to be much more control over routing.
Yep, with those custom handlers.
Built-in smarts for handling those real navigation commands.
Making server-driven navigation easier.
And finally, official native bottom tabs.
The much requested feature, yeah.
So for you, the listener, especially if you're in that web to native space, this looks like another solid step forward, making things more capable, maybe a bit easier to manage.
I think so. It's refining the developer experience, adding flexibility where it was needed, and tackling common UI patterns. It's about leveraging those web skills more effectively for native outcomes.
Yeah, efficiency and consistency seem key. If you want to dive deeper yourself, check out the official Hotwire Native docs and definitely grab those new demo apps. The main site is native.hotwire.dev.
Absolutely. Worth exploring.
It does make you think, though, as we see this continued blurring of lines between web development and native mobile development, what other areas might get this kind of integration treatment next? Where else could we see this kind of simplification or unification?
That's a great question. Things like maybe state management, offline capabilities, access to native device APIs. There are still areas where the web native bridge could be smoother.
Interesting. And how could that change how quickly we build apps, or even who can build them?
Yeah, it potentially lowers the barrier even further, doesn't it? Definitely something to keep an eye on. It's a space that's constantly evolving.